Hi, everybody, and welcome back to RHAP's coverage of the amazing Race 38. My name is Mike Bloom, and we're closing out the year truly in style by talking to the winning team, the record-setting, history-making team from the season of Big Brother and the Amazing Race. Of course, let me welcome in the partner alongside me when it comes to talking about all of these partners, Jessica Liese. Jess, how are you?
Doing great, Mike. Very excited. Let's set some records ourselves with this one.
All right. I do not know what that means, but I'm
I don't
incredibly
either, honestly.
I like the sound of that.
I was going to say, these guys walked in never necessarily knowing what records they would set, so it's only applicable. Look, at the end of last podcast, we said it will be back, so it's only appropriate that we talk with the Turbinators today, the winners of the Amazing Race 38, Jess and Jag Baines. Gentlemen, how are you?
Oh, we're doing great. Thank you so much for having us. We're stoked to be here.
Yeah, I know that cards up, you guys have celebrated your win in the way that truly a lot of reality TV stars do by having major dental surgery.
Yeah. Yeah, what better way to celebrate than to get your wisdom teeth taken out? Luckily, I've healed a lot quicker. He's kind of going through the thick of it right now. So naturally, I can yap more, which is just the way I like things anyway.
Well, let's talk about what got you yapping on the race in the first place, because obviously, Jag, you had your own record-breaking history-making run on Big Brother 25. But what's interesting to me is when you talked to us in your exit press, you had said that, you and your family had been fans of the Amazing Race. So I'm curious, what was sort of your history with the show? And then what was your reaction to getting asked to do the race? Was it an immediate yes from you?
Yeah, we had watched this. So we're from a really small town in Omak, Washington, and so the Amazing Race for us was just our way to see the world and sort of travel, but from the comfort of our own home. And so I remember at a young age we would watch it with our family, and so it was such an insane moment to get the call for the race, and it was a hands down yes for me immediately. And they obviously wanted to know if Jazz was free and down to do the race with me, and he was literally in the other room. We were roommates, and we're attached at the hip. So I literally was just like, "Hey, are you down to do it?" And obviously he was super down. So we immediately just started training. We deleted Google Maps off our phones that day and just started training and going like all in.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because obviously navigation is going to be one of your guys. I would say bread and butter, but you basically had an entire bread box of skills over the course of the race. So was there sort of a secret there? Did it come in the way you were prepping seemingly without any sort of assistance with phones?
You know what? Like maybe because when we were prepping, we were living in LA and we got like a map of LA and we're, navigating with the map. But quite honestly, on the race, so I was the navigator, he was the driver. I really didn't use the maps that they provided. I found them to be more confusing than helpful. And we typically just asked people for directions, and that sort of worked for us. I think it helped to be super detailed with the directions for us. For our mantra was sort of, we'd rather spend more time getting detailed directions, spend like 5-10 extra minutes, because if we set off without detailed directions, if we go 10 minutes the wrong direction, that's now 10 minutes coming back to where you came from, and that's 20 minutes wasted. And so, everything, we were sort of quantifying it in that way and saying like, let's just be very accurate. And again, the point of it is not to take first every leg, it's to not get last. So let's not make the mistakes that we would get last in, and that helped us get first.
Yeah, it's really funny that you didn't think the goal was to get first on every leg, because you certainly were at the front of the pack for most of this race. And my question about that is that something you expected going in? Like, how did you think you were going to do?
I mean, we had no idea we would do as well as we did, right? We go in and we felt confident in our preparation and just our relationship as brothers. But you never know what the Amazing Race is going to throw at you. And the dream is always like, we want to make it to the final leg and just have a chance to compete in the final leg and and to win that. But yeah, right off the bat, I mean, right off the bat when the Amazing Race started, we missed the first clue box. We were ass. You know, we missed the first clue box. We get to the Express Pass Challenge where it's the human ice bowling. We're one of the bottom 3 teams fighting to not get the hazard. And then we pull up to Phil at the mat. And we were actually laughing to each other on the mat, like looked at each other and we're like, hey, maybe the Amazing Race isn't for us. Like we might be out of here very soon. But then after that, we just kind of were like, all right, let's get in the right mindset. Let's focus and let's just like see what we can do. And I don't know, it's like we just flipped the switch at that point and never looked back.
Well, something that certainly helped flip that switch for you is what happens at that starting line where Taylor and Kyland are given the opportunity to gift an express pass to one team. So from what we've heard, the floor was opened up for any possible pitches. We know that Natalie and Stephanie gave a pitch. What was the successful pitch that you guys gave?
So the floor opened up. So the funny part about this is like, you know, every team or most of the teams, you know, gave pitches and we were like whispering to each other and we're like, is it even worth it to give a pitch? Like we're not going to get the express pass. And then we realized, you know what, giving the pitches is a good way to like share who you are, you know, why you're on the race, a little bit about your story. And so that's honestly just what we shared, like a little bit about our background and like our motivation behind doing the race and what it meant to us and our community, you know, being the first in our community to be represented on the race and everything. And we did not think that we were going to get the express pass until, yeah, when Taylor shared even her reasoning. I don't know if this made the episode or not, but she was sharing her reasoning. She was like, you know, I know what it feels like to be isolated and I'm going to give this express pass to someone who's the only one from their season. And when we hear that, we're like, okay, well, that's going to Natalie probably, or maybe Kat and Alex, or someone who's because there's Izzy that's there from my season, right? But after saying that, she said Jag and Jas, and we were stoked. We're like, we're not going to argue with you about that. Like, yeah, well, we will happily accept this express pass. And so we were as shocked as everyone else that we got it.
Let's talk about some of your relationships coming in here. I mean, I think we'll dedicate an entire section to the Izzy and Paige of it all, but I'm curious, obviously, you know, you've been in the community since your season for the past couple of years. Were there any particular teams that you were connected to? Were Taylor and Kylan one of them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like different connections with all the teams. We were close with Joseph before going in, and didn't know Adam. We were close with Kyland, you know, like we were close with a lot of people, because we're in that sort of space with them. You know, we see them at events, we love their vibe, or maybe we've hung out with them outside of that or whatever it is. And then some of the teams we hadn't met them before. We hadn't met Natalie and Stephanie before. We hadn't met Jack and Enzo, or Kat and Alex even. And so it kind of was like spread out for us in terms of what the relationships looked like for us. Yeah, but I think that's what kind of made it exciting too. We were kind of analyzing like, okay, where do we stand with everyone, and like, are they gonna want to work with us, or is it like, what's our threat level at coming in, and how can we mitigate that? And so, you know, there's a million things that's going through your brain as you're trying to like figure that out right at the beginning. And so I thought it was cool though.
So when you came on to the race, like before you got out there, did you think about who you thought might be out there? And were there any surprises, either people that you expected to see in the cast that weren't, or people that surprised you that they were there?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see Taylor and Kyland. I mean, that's an all-star team, right? And so they're the only team that had two big brother, you know, players. And so that was probably the most surprising thing that I saw. I would say I was also surprised that Tucker was there with his brother and Rubina was there with her sister, rather than like a Tucker Rubina team, like seeing that Taylor and Kyland were a team. And then it was just kind of random.
Which I still don't understand until like now. You know, I'm like, why would you separate Tucker and
Like, pick one or the other?
You put
Taylor
and Kylan together. I still don't get it.
Yeah, but
I broke my silence.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Jazz is here, everybody who's listening to the podcast only.
But I don't know. Was there anyone that was like super surprising? Like
I think you got them down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it wasn't that like, oh wow, like I really didn't expect them there, because I think everyone, it made sense why they were there, and everyone had like a really compelling and cool story as to why they were there, and so yeah, it made sense.
So you guys talk about a bit of a shaky start. If you were sliding on the ice that the bobsled was going across, but you do get your footing and you never stop running pretty much from that point. Do you credit like any specific task or like any specific tactic to why you end up finishing first place in the very first leg?
I think it was our navigation. Like it was from getting from that starting point to that first challenge where you did tandem bikes.
Yeah.
That was, how far was that? That was like
an hour.
Yeah, like 45 minutes to an hour drive. And
that's if you don't get lost.
Yeah. And like the street names weren't matching up, but the strategy we had of like looking at the odometer and like all this stuff and like adding that in there and all that, like it was matching up when you were supposed to take a left turn. So I think our navigation, then we saw Tucker and Eric were very good at navigation as well. They were also the first one.
That's kind of what like catapulted us to the front of the pack with Tucker and Eric. Like we get there right behind Tucker and Eric, so we're teams 1 and 2, and then we just maintain that lead after that. And so yeah, I mean that's the thing, like navigation is such a huge part of the race. I think it's half of the race. Like I kind of joke around saying this, but like the race is really like get somewhere and do something, right? That's a simplified version. If you don't know how to get there, it's gonna be hard to do something because you're lost. And so we had to get good at both things, and I think locking in on navigation helped us so much.
And half the tasks are still get a thing and take it to another place.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about something that will obviously come into play starting with the next leg with Trainwreck. But before we get to that, there's even in this opening leg, like you guys help Matt and Megan by pointing out where the cheese cart is. Jess, you work a little bit with Eric of like, hey, I'll tell you what flowers to get, and you run off to get it. Yes. So I'm curious because there has been some talk about like you guys maybe approaching this from more of a Big Brother-esque social strategic relationship management perspective. Yeah. Talk to me more about that. Was this something you purposely wanted to do in the race?
100%. Yes. Cause it's like when you walk in, right, and you see like, let's say at orientation or at the starting line, you see that it's Big Brother players, you can assume, or like, I feel like it's right to assume that there's going to be a social aspect to the twists that are going to happen. And we saw that, right? Like there was the driver's seat, right? There was the social U-turn where you had to do the live voting. There was a double U-turn board, right? And so like for us, we had assumed that like, look, if just by the off chance we do end up doing well, the only way to kind of mitigate that target and make it smaller was to kind of play up our social game and the social aspect of it. And so at the end of the day, that's why we were kind of like, oh, yep, see, we were like, you know, being very intentional about like, hey, if we help people early on, they're gonna end up helping us more as well.
All right, well, that comes into handy and then some as soon as you hit that cluster F at the train station. So we need to hear your perspective on what this, you know, night turned everlasting morning from hell happened. Man. And how did it turn out that, you know, you three teams specifically wound up on that train that would determine a lot of the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably a blessing in disguise. I mean, that's a classic example of mob mentality. All the teams were on that, there's 8 teams that are on that train. We've been on that train for the last like 8 or some hours. And as soon as one of the teams gets ready to hop off, because it's the Berlin station, all the teams get off together, and it's the wrong station. And so it was pure chaos. Like everyone went straight to panic. And in that moment, we just looked at each other and we're like, you know what, let's run our own race. Like we don't need to follow the mob anymore. We know where that got us. And so we just on our own ran off to the side. to the nearest ticketing kiosk to find our own tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And just coincidentally, Joseph and Adam chose to split apart for
Apparently they were with the group, and we were just kind of like 10 feet from the group when we were like, oh, let's run our own race. We're gonna run off and do our own thing. And we ran off, and they kind of overheard us, and they were like, wait, that's smart. We need to do our own thing because everyone is just like so chaotic right now. No one knows what they're doing. So then they also ended up being like, okay, where can we get tickets? And then Nat and Steph, same thing, right?
That's sort of what like starts the train wreck alliance for us. Like all three of us are together now trying to find tickets and have to navigate through like the rest of that night trying to get to Prague, which ends up being like 7 or some odd connections on trains, and
some with like 4 minutes and stuff, like where we had
some trains are running late, and so we're like, we have 4 minutes to catch this.
At one point, him and Adam, was it you and Adam went up to like the train conductor,
and we told him to drive the train faster, and he did. We were like, we need to get to Prague, and he just like started flying, and
because we were about to miss
that.
It was like the 4-minute connection that we were gonna miss. And he goes up, and it's like going through small towns. So he was like, okay, I can do something. And he just goes, and he goes faster. There's like no one at like one of the stops. So he zips by it, and he just keeps going. And we're like,
I didn't even know that was allowed.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was physically possible.
Yeah.
That's wild. Well, due to the assistance of some other racers and perhaps a train conductor that's putting his job on the line, you make it there, you form the Trainwreck Alliance, which ends up, really moving forward in a major way.
Yep.
Now, I'm curious because Joseph and Adam utilize you in particular to navigate a number of times from this leg throughout the rest of the race. How did you feel about that? Were you more than happy to cooperate, or were there some times where you're like, God, can I shake these guys at one point?
No, we were happy to help them out. At the end of the day, we would rather have them be with us at the front of the pack, because to us they're loyal allies, right? And we don't want them to be at risk of getting eliminated. So yeah, we were more than happy to.
And
to do
we
that.
also had a deeper connection with them where we were doing it for the same reasons, and we were like the first in our community, so we had like that connection with them from the get-go. And so even like if you and your allies can make it further in the legs, it was also strategic where it was like, okay, when these U-turns come up, when these twists come up,
I'd rather have
we're
them
gonna
there.
we're doing this together, right? And so it was strategic, but also like we're at the front, so it didn't hurt to help others.
Well, you continue through the Czech Republic, check a lot of things easily off your list. You arrive at the pit stop in first, and you say, what day is it? What's the calendar say? Okay, Natalie, enchanté. And the two of them step onto the mat. You talk in confessional about how, from your perspective, this is not only a nice gesture, but a way to try to minimize your target level by saying, it's not first, it's first, second. Talk to me more about that. How much of it was a strategically influenced decision versus just a personal one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both, right? Like, we wouldn't do it if we're not also close with Natalie and Steph and have our alliance with them. And we saw like how much our alliance was helping each other, like Natalie and Steph write down directions for us and just like different things like that. And so we felt that closeness. And at the same time, we had 2 first places already. We have an express pass. There's no reason for us to continue getting first, because our mindset was truly like first doesn't matter until the very last leg, right? And so it's okay to give up a first, and it strategically might indicate to other teams that we are beatable.
Yes, exactly. That was like part of the reason, was like also like we had just gotten 2 first, but it showed to the other teams, oh, they got second, they got beat by Nat and Steph. And right, and like you actually saw that, like when Rubina and Christine check in with Phil, they were like, "Oh, what?" Like it was Nat and Steph doing the driver's seat. That means someone beat Jag and Jas. Right? They say that to Phil and they show that, but like they didn't know. Like,
I was gonna say, did anyone actually know that you guys placed second in that leg?
Word got around. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was part of it, right? And that was part of the agreement that we had made with Nat and Steph was like, we don't tell anyone that we
Well, it
gave
would blow up
to
the
you,
alliance
right?
too, right? It's that
And it would like
yeah.
tell, you know, so it was a mixture of both, right? It was personal, but it was also strategic too.
Did anyone ever find out about Trainwreck, whether you volunteered that information after like Nat and Steph left or anything?
Nope.
At the finale, Matt.
Yeah,
shared
when people, at the finale, Matt, when even Phil said it too, people were like, what? There was an alliance going on? I think the only really people that kind of caught on were Hannah and Simone because they were so close to all of the teams in Trainwreck.
Yeah.
But aside from them, I don't think anyone else really caught on.
Yeah, because there was a lot of speculation that there were other alliances happening.
Right, the
Yeah,
season 26 alliance, infamously.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and we had, even though they said there was no alliance, right? But like when you go in and you see so many 26ers and then you see two people in a relationship on different teams, and then Rubina and Chelsea are best friends, right? Like it's only right to assume, right, that they might be working together. And so that's what we were
the nature of the
basing on.
race is also you have to be by another team
Yes,
in order to
yeah.
actually work with them. They simply weren't next to each other enough
Mhm.
for it to actually come to fruition. If they would have worked together, who knows? But
No, I mean there were indications on like Eric, when I helped Eric at the first roadblock, we had said we weren't going to tell anyone that I had helped him,
and that they were
but
together.
as soon as we get on that train with 8 teams and then like 30 minutes into the ride, I'm talking to Jack with Chelsea's dad,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh yeah, so I heard you helped Eric," and that immediately to me, and like I was like, "All right, they already told them."
Like
we
they
had
must be
just
tight
talked
with
about-
Chelsea. And
So it was like little things like that that we were like,
Chelsea
okay,
also doesn't vote for Eric at the double U-turn social vote to Eric and Tucker.
So there were little things, and so, but there was nothing solidified.
No
like
alliance,
Trainwreck.
sure, but like they're working together in some way, right? So
There's familiarity, absolutely.
Yes,
Well, let's talk
yeah.
about perhaps your familiarity with a team from season 25, because as we go into
Let's do
Hungary,
it.
yeah, this is where we get this rather interesting interaction where Izzy and Paige are seemingly trying to get directions. You guys approach them. You feel a little bit of a cold shoulder from them. So talk to me a bit about what was your expectation of your relationship with Izzy and Paige going into this, and was that reaction either like feeding that perception, or did it surprise you at all?
I mean, I knew that Izzy and I weren't like best friends going into the Amazing Race, but the main question for us is like, is this a team that we can work with or not? Right. And so that's the main thing that we need to figure out, right? Everything else doesn't really matter because people are just going to run their race. And so for us, based on that interaction and other sort of interactions on the train and other things that we had just been picking up on, we realized, cool, they aren't interested in working with us, which is fine. But all that means is that we then don't owe them anything, right? They don't owe us anything to work with us. And that means we also don't. And so it sort of checked out with what we expected. And that was fine because then we're like, cool, that's a team that has been running the race really well that we now know isn't interested in working with us. And so we can sort of inform our decisions moving forward.
Can you go a bit more into your perspective as to that specific interaction? Because, Izzy and Paige have given us their version, but what was sort of your feeling in that moment?
I think so. What had happened where we were with Joseph and Adam, and Joseph and Adam were like, "Oh, there's Izzy and Paige. Like, we're gonna run over and say hi." And we were like, "Okay, let's let them run over and say hi, and then we'll say hi." Right? They run over to say hi. They're all very excited, and we see this happen, right? And then we walk over to say hi, and it's immediate walls up. But no, we're doing something, and they turn around, and we're like, that's the confirmation that we needed, that we were suspicious of, that like, look, we had actually gone in with like a clean slate and wanted to like extend olive branches out to them and stuff like that, but that didn't end up happening really. But from that, we were just like, okay.
It wasn't just that, you know what I mean? Like the first time we get on the train with them and, we see them first on the train. We get on with them, and so we're in the same compartment. And we were just noticing like conversations getting cut short, and they were interested in just roaming on the train rather than like initially when we're trying to start it off, you know, and be like, oh my gosh, can't believe we're here. Oh, like this and that, to see what the interest level might be. And so I think a lot of little things that we're like, okay, well, you know, we're not dumb, right? We understand that some teams might want to work with us and some teams might not. And what we're picking up is that they aren't interested in working with us, which is fine. However, that means that like we feel fine making whatever strategic move that we want. And so yeah, that's all it was.
You also have bigger fish to fry in Hungary. Unfortunately so. This is the most struggle you will have on the race, and tragically, it is really not due to any actions of your own. We experienced what I would imagine is just a sliver of the discrimination and flat out racism that you experience, in particular when getting taxis. But I would love to give you the opportunity to go even more in depth, because you talk about this on the show. You've spoken about it as well at length in Exit Press. This was a pop the bubble moment. Yeah, you're on a reality show. Yeah, you're racing around and doing kooky things around Europe, but you're in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, that was that sort of pivotal moment for us, because when we're trying to catch taxis, it takes us 45 minutes to get any taxis to stop. And we see all these other teams that we were ahead of hail down taxis, hop in, and just leave to the next location. And it's not just one team or two. I think it's 3 or 4 other teams that all get taxis. And so for us, the moment where he told me like, hey, put up your hood, I do that, and a taxi stops within 2 minutes. The first one that comes by stops for us. And so for us, it became a moment. Obviously, it's frustrating, right? Not only because it's racial discrimination, but also because now we're in a high pressure environment. We're on a race. Every second counts, and that's directly impacting that as well. And so at that point is where we decided we want to just go, rather than taking taxis, we'd rather just run on foot and take the metro or public transportation for the rest of the leg, because we can stay in a positive mindset and keep moving forward, and slow progress is better than no progress. And so we just kept with that mindset for the rest of the leg, which was challenging for us. Hungary has, or in Budapest, they have like the lower area of Budapest and an upper area, and we end up doing 99 flights of stairs additional that leg, because the bus or the train that we were on dropped us off in the lower area, and we're just going to run on foot to House of Houdini, and it's pure uphill. And so it was a lot. It was like our own separate detour that we did for ourselves.
It was getting to House of Houdini,
and
that's
it's like
we have our cameraman and our audio person with us too, doing these flights of stairs with us.
And so I mean, it was difficult for us, but it was still cool. I was proud of how we handled it, and proud of even how we placed afterwards, because our mindset for that was like, okay, we got to survive this. Like, we don't know where we're going to end up, because we might be great at navigation or great at challenges or whatever it is, but like at the end of the day, another team can just hop in a taxi and just beat us there. And so yeah, I was happy with how we ended up doing in that leg.
So from a logistics standpoint, I'm surprised that you were allowed to do this, because usually you hear a lot about the clues, and there's been points in the past where, you know, it'll say make your way on foot, and a team will take a cab and they'll get dinged for it. So they didn't specify how you had to get there?
So the first clue where we did face that racial discrimination was you must take a taxi. The rest of it was make your way, whatever it was. So we just decided, we were like, oh, we don't need to take taxis. Let's just go on foot and take public transportation. But that in that like essence, we got lucky, you know, that like it didn't say you must take a taxi to this next spot or wherever else it is.
I'm curious about the production side of things. I mean, obviously you were there with your cameraman, with your sound person. What was sort of their reaction to what was happening? Did you have any conversation with like producers after the leg about this?
So there's but they don't during the race, they don't interact with us. They just keep running with us, whatever that might be.
Like
right?
they're on our time essentially.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
just help us in any way.
Yeah, exactly. So like we couldn't but like when there's story producers at like different points, like roadblocks or detours or whatever it is, because they'll pull you aside and ask you questions. So like when he was doing the roadblock, one of them did pull me aside because they were like, oh, we just heard what happened, do you want to talk about it, right? And so we did like a quick interview then, but aside from that, like our post interviews, we talked about it as well because it was a significant part of what we had experienced during that leg. But like during, like the cameraman, the audio people, they cannot like interfere or do anything to help us.
Yeah, not to cut too far ahead, but I know when we talked in your exit press, you had spoken about a moment in Romania where obviously, unfortunately, this was not a solitary incident. What happened in Budapest? So talk to me a little bit more about were there other unfortunate happenstances throughout the rest of the race for you?
Yeah, there were, and that moment was like when we hop in a taxi and the taxi driver didn't really speak any English, but did know how to say like terrorist and bomb, or like we were saying like boom, like terrorist. And so
and he was laughing.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, we were trying to, and we had just gotten into the taxi and we were trying to get to the airfield to go skydiving. And we just kind of like looked at each other and we were trying to like change the topic, and he brought it up multiple times. It wasn't just like he said it once, right? And he would say, oh, no English, and then he would say this again, right? And we just kind of like looked at our camera crew and we looked at each other and we were like, look, like if this was like not a race, we would have asked him to pull over. It would have taken another taxi. But like we're in a situation where every second, every minute counts. And we can't just do that, and so we just had to like sit there while he did this. And we tried to like, I think one of the things that we did was like, we're like, can we use your phone for something, right? Like we started going phone and like try to like change the conversation or the topic so he wouldn't just keep doing the same thing, which ended up kind of working. But those are just like strategies that we've learned through our everyday life from like facing things like this. And so, you just got to kind of like pivot, and we've built a lot of resiliency from situations that we've faced. So we just kind of tapped into that.
Yeah, like it wasn't anything new to us on the race. I think it just was a reminder like, oh, we're in the real world. Like, we're filming a TV show and it feels like, oh, we're just in that bubble, so to speak. But yeah, we're in the real world. And so people are seeing us for the first time too, and maybe we're the first people that wear turbans that they've ever seen, and they're gonna react however they're gonna react, and we have to deal with that.
Those were like the two prominent situations, but there were like little things, where like you walk in and people are like, no, you gotta leave, right? Or it's like things like that where you're kind of like, okay, we can tell why. You see like two turbaned men walk into a space, or like walking on a certain side of the street and they're like crossing to the other side of the street, stuff like that. So there were like many things like that would happen, but we would just like, we're always in like our go, like we can't let this slow us down mindset. And so we would just kind of pivot from there and just keep going.
Well, not only that, I mean, you guys are serving as obviously a key piece of representation. You said that's a major why as to why you're on the race. And so not to say you're like, oh, this will be a learning experience, but I'm sure you also felt in that moment like, we do need to represent our community. And part of that representation is kind of having to deal with these tragically pig-headed things in the way that you usually do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't anything new to us, and unfortunately to other people that are in our community, or I mean, this sort of stuff happens regardless of what community. Like other teams face different levels of like people being weird or like maybe ignorant or whatever it was. And so this was just a part of our story, and we wanted to make sure that we kept a positive mindset throughout it.
And not to jump all the way to the very end of the race, but I feel like knowing all of this about all of the kind of traumatic experiences the two of you had with cab drivers throughout Europe, then there's pure poetry in the fact that you get to New York and your cab driver is Punjabi.
Yeah.
That was our full circle moment. Like when we realized, like, oh, he's Sikh, he's Punjabi. It was incredible for us.
All right. Well, it's time to make our way to Croatia. And this is where the first U-turn happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And we got to get into this because I guess what I'm first intrigued by is when you get the clue that says U-turn ahead, you automatically say, we're using it. Now, I guess my question is, was that just like, we're going to use it no matter what? Or were you always going to have in your head, we're going to U-turn Izzy and Paige specifically?
So we were going to use it no matter what, because at that point where we got our clue, we could see the rest of the team still working there, right? And so like for us, it was a way to also, if we use up the board, right? Joseph and Adam are running with us with the nets too. If we use up the board, we're actually helping our allies too that were behind us. So like Taylor and Kylan,
We
gave
can
us an
repay
express
them
pass.
for that.
That was like a way of us repaying them, you know? So when we even use it, we're running off, we actually crossed paths with them. And we briefly told them, hey, we use a U-turn board to protect you guys. Hannah and Simone were right behind us. And they were another team that we were super close with, that we were like, okay, we got to protect them by using this board up. And so that was just kind of like the mindset that we had even going into it. Like we knew. Also, I'm the type, I love these kinds of twists. And I talked to him about this. I was like, dude, I want to use every single twist that we can. You know?
we didn't want to play like we wanted to play smart but not scared either, right? And so we're like, you know what? There's a U-turn board. That seems like a bucket list item. Like we're on the race, like we're not gonna shy away from it. Let's use it. And so
So then the question is, why Izzy and Paige? You know, this is something that they've certainly talked about their disagreements with. We can get into that. It's something that we were like, you know, did you think that Izzy and Paige were going to be eliminated? Why single them out in particular for a U-turn?
I guess my response would be like, what are the reasons not to do Izzy and Paige? They're the next strongest placing team there. And so to us, like, we would write down the placement of all the teams that we knew. And based on conversations we have, we figure out the missing pieces on every leg. And so we saw that in the first equalized leg, we take first, Tucker and Eric are right there with us, and Izzy and Paige are third. And so that's the very first leg. That is fully equalized. And so that's the truest indicator of how teams are performing. And so we took that into account. And we're like, okay, well, they're good with navigation and challenges, and they're finishing strong. And so there's no reason not to U-turn them. And we're not working with them. So, you know, if they're a team that we're working really closely with and they're finishing strong, maybe that changes the conversation there. But they're a strong placing team.
And we had these conversations with like Joseph and Adam and Nat and Steph. And like we had realized at one point, like we were saying we were going to do like the BB27 teams. And then we kind of 26 teams. But we kind of came away from that because then we're like, look, guys, like Izzy and Paige are flying under the radar, but they are a very strong team and we could see it. But then Joseph and Adam would push back because they were close with Izzy and Paige. So there was like this dynamic that we would have with them. But at the end of the day, we ended up getting there and U-turning Izzy and Paige.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you talk about like, give me a reason why not. I think one of them would be the chance that Izzy and Paige might survive and might be feeling a certain way. Now we'll get to obviously the two of you, you talking it out, but I guess you got to watch sort of their immediate reaction for the first time on TV. What was that like?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it was more
valid.
or less what I expected. Like, I mean,
it was a valid reaction. Yeah.
You're not going to be happy about it, right? And so it made sense to me. And like, the risk for us wasn't that high for like, if they're upset at us, because we're not working with them anyway. Like, that's fine if other teams are mad at us. We can't align with every single team on the race. And so, it was a sound decision for us. And watching it back, the reaction was also completely valid. Like,
I do want to talk about a moment as we continue through Croatia in this next leg, where again, you guys were spectacular in the car, with maybe one exception, with this fence and having to push yourselves out. Like, how long were you stuck at that? Was that a difficult time to get through?
Oh, we weren't stuck for.
We were there for like what, couple minutes?
Yeah, like maybe 4-ish minutes,
Like,
5 minutes.
As soon as I realized I didn't know how to put it into reverse, right?
I
And like
got out and
it's,
started pushing.
we just put it into neutral and started pushing it. They show this, like, we have commercial driver's license, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We drive semi trucks with like 18 wheelers,
Yeah.
and like I know how to drive semi trucks, but in those you just take it, the gear shift, and you just push it into reverse. You just slide it over and push it. But with these cars, I don't know why you had to push it into the console to put it into reverse, and I had no idea that's what
Yeah, it like went against everything we had learned, which is like if you're forcing it into a certain gear, it probably doesn't belong there.
Yes.
For this one, you had to push it down. But for us, again, like pivoting and adapting is the name of the game for us, right? And so cool. We can't reverse it. Well, I know how to push it, right? And so we get out, we push it. Thank God the fence is there so it doesn't go off that hill. That's probably our saving grace of the entire season. And then we hop in and we get to the next spot.
We were making jokes along, like in the car ride after we did that, because like our cameraman was like, we were like talking about like, oh, hey, we have CDLs. If we could have every leg be like manual, give it to us.
Manual, self-navigating. This is perfect. Right?
And then the next thing, we can't put it in reverse, and we're making jokes about it. We're like, oh my God, this is going to look hilarious if they include this in the edit, right? Like, we're talking all this game, and then out of nowhere, we don't know how to reverse it, So we just kept going.
Yeah, I mean, after that, we didn't learn how to reverse it. Like, I just pushed the car into the parking spot that we needed to.
We did. I
told
you at the roadblock while we were standing to the side, but at that point we didn't need to put it in reverse.
Yeah.
And future cars that you drove later on in the race, they didn't do that.
They did not do that.
Yeah.
So as we make our way to Romania, this is finally the opportunity for Izzy and Paige to catch up with you. I would say, Jess, in particular, I know you had quite the interaction with Paige while getting ready to make the skydive. Talk to me about your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a weather delay and stuff like that. So we were just all kind of like standing there hanging out. And she was like, all right, let's address the elephant in the room. And we just started talking about it. And that's when we kind of like they kind of she had mentioned that like at the starting mat, when Taylor had said that I'm giving this express pass to the only team from like
someone who's the only one from their season.
Yeah, that like we should have said something, right? Like we should have been like, no, we aren't the only team, right? And I was kind of explaining, like, I was like, no, that responsibility isn't on us. That responsibility is on Taylor to recognize that there are other teams. We're getting an express pass.
Also, in no world am I gonna interrupt someone giving me an express pass to be like, hey, you got your numbers wrong. I don't care what your numbers add up to. If it ends up with me and him getting an express pass, I'm gonna take it every time. That's strategically the right move.
Don't actually your way out of the express pass.
Exactly.
We're not gonna stop them. And so in that also interaction, after things got a little heated and we were arguing back and forth,
I think the issue was like we were gonna stand on business. Like he was standing on business. Like we're gonna.
And we were like, look, we
felt so sound in our decision.
And so that was actually like so we kind of learned their perspective of like why they weren't trying to work with us or were like a little bit cold towards us, was because from the starting mat, from that first instance, they felt that we should have said something and we didn't. So they like held that. And then after that, those were the things that we were picking up on, was like, why are they being cold towards us, right? Like, why aren't they trying to work with us? But we never knew that was the reason. So it kind of shed some light on where that all kind of started. Because I think us and them had potentially, like, once we saw each other, we're like, oh, there's a clean slate. Like we can maybe work on something here. But unknowingly, that clean slate had gotten muddied, and we didn't know, and it just added more and more to it, you know. And so
Did you feel like the slate was wiped clean once again, or did you feel like I did as much damage control as I could, but they're still feeling a certain way about us?
No,
it was
it was not. There, it wasn't.
It's about as clean as you were after making those bricks.
There, it wasn't. But going into Greece, we actually had a very like heart-to-heart conversation with them at like the airport, and they don't show that, but
that was we're able to connect with
after that. I wish that, because we're like good with Izzy and Paige now, right? Like we're chilling, and so after that heart-to-heart and like talking to them more and really talking everything out, and understanding each other's perspectives, that's why you don't see us like vote to U-turn them. You know, we vote to U-turn strategically, again, on like who we think should be U-turn and all that stuff. So I mean, that's what ended up happening.
Well, you choose not to speak up at the starting line, and you get that express pass in your hand, and you end up using it the final time it could be used in Romania. Now, I'm curious, was there any other point in the race before that leg that you were contemplating using it, or did you always feel like this is something we're going to only use at the last opportune moment?
I mean, we wanted to save it until leg 8. That was the goal, because that meant we didn't need it until leg 8. So that was something we had talked about, but like, I don't think there was really any.
For us, it was like a safety net, right? Like if we ever were in a situation where we're fighting between last and surviving in the game, then obviously we would have used it. And we were lucky enough to not be in that position. The closest we got was in Hungary, and even then we took 5th out of the 10 teams, and so we felt good with how we were racing. And so on that 8th leg, when we used the express pass, it wasn't that we needed it. It was just that like, hey, we need to use it, and so we just used it on the first roadblock that we saw.
I don't think we if we would have been U-turned even at the U-turn board, like if Tucker and Eric would have U-turned us, we would have probably tried our hand at the other detour before even being like, oh, let's use it, right? So it wasn't something that was at like top of our mind. It was like, okay, if we really, really need it, then we can use it.
So this leg is one of the many dance tasks you guys do throughout the season. And I'm curious about your approach, because you take the option of sort of like, you know, check early, check quickly, of like, let's just, you also benefit from the fact that you're usually there first. You can just try again and again and again without waiting in line. And you also talk about liking to do the dance task because it allows you to sort of like get immersed in the culture. So like, was this a tactic you had thinking going into the race for these types of tasks, or was this more something you discovered along the way?
No, it was definitely a tactic we had going into the race, because we saw on like other seasons where like when you're practicing, you don't have music, so you don't know the rhythm, you don't know what the beat is, how fast you need to go, how slow, and you can
guess what happens if you practice and you get it 100% right? Nothing. You get no clue. Nothing happens. And so that was our thing, is like we don't want to give ourselves a little pat on the back because we practiced it right. That doesn't matter to us. So our thing was like, all right, learn the steps so that we actually have an idea of what we're doing, and have a chance of getting the clue, and then go out there, learn the rhythm and the beat and like, you know, whatever it is, and just spam that as much as we can, so that when we get it right, it's on an actual attempt and not in the practice room.
And it also gives you a chance to find out like how picky they're going to be, because my sense of it is that varies quite a bit. Sometimes it's like the criteria are is very clear, and sometimes you have no idea what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it lets you know what to focus on, maybe, you know, like if we're doing it a little too fast, or like something isn't
because some judges will tell you like, oh, you messed up here. Some will just say no, you know, and so like there's still that like potential feedback that you can get.
All right, so up to this point, you guys have been doing incredibly well. You know, you finally get back into first place again for the first time in a while. Right here, you edge out Tucker and Eric, and then you arrive on a hilltop in Greece, and
Yeah.
you hear there's going to be a U-turn vote. The first thing I have to ask before we get into your specific votes is how immediate was your thought, oh, we are so screwed?
I mean, the moment we found out it was a double U-turn, like each team votes for 2 teams, I think, yeah, he looked at me and he was like, hey, just saying, like, let's start to get in the mindset of, like, we might get U-turned.
We had planned that it was gonna be one team, right? So we had
because that's how they've done it
votes.
before, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had like talked to other teams up until that point and all
And
that, where we had votes where we
Tucker
could have
and Eric.
potentially flown by and not gotten U-turn. But as soon as we saw that it was 2 votes, we looked at each other. We're like, we didn't even think about this. We're cooked.
It will be like, we knew it was going to be very, very difficult to survive that. And a lot of teams will have to make, in our mind, the incorrect decisions on who to U-turn. And so, yeah, we already were getting in the mindset.
Incorrect decision being like, if we were in their shoes, we would have definitely U-turned us and Tucker and Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like those were like the 2 front running teams.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about your votes specifically, at least in this first round. Tucker and Eric, and then Kylan and Taylor. We'll focus on the Kylan and Taylor second because a lot comes with that. But Tucker and Eric, it was just a straight up no brainer for you. No matter what, you were going to throw it onto them because of how big of a threat they were.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're just looking at the data. They were finishing strong. They're the biggest competitors to us at that point, and so yeah, we knew we were gonna U-turn them. We knew they were gonna U-turn us as well, and so that was a no-brainer.
So then the Kylan and Taylor is the much spicier part of it because, like you had said, you were looking out for them with not U-turning them. They gave you the express pass, and I think especially they take a lot of umbrage with the gentleman's agreement of it all. So talk to me a bit about why you do what you do, and was that suspicion of a gentleman's agreement brought into your thinking?
So with Kylan and Taylor, obviously in the previous U-turn, we were looking out for them. The moment it switches for us at that U-turn, Eric overhears Taylor sort of talking about like, hey, I think there's a gentleman's agreement and something. And the way he relays that to him is like, hey, she talked about a gentleman's agreement and they're gunning for us or something. And so we're like, okay, well, this is surprising news that they would be coming after us after we just helped them and told them that we used the U-turn board up. Like, okay. And it was actually in Romania where all the teams met up. We all slept in those metal shipping containers, like those bunkers, super thin walls. And next to us, so our bunker is quiet. We're trying to go to sleep. It's us and Joseph and Adam. And right next to where our bunk beds are is Kylan and Taylor's bunker where it starts. And we overhear them talking about
through the walls.
Yeah, we overhear them talking about like, hey, Joseph and Adam, Jag and Jas, Tucker and Eric, we need to U-turn them.
And that was just confirmation for us. We were like, oh, because what Eric had told us, we were like, okay, we're taking this with a grain of salt because we didn't hear this. They have been super loyal to us. We've been super loyal to them. We're good. But then when we heard that, I shot up out of bed and I was like, yo, you won't believe what I just heard. Immediately go to Joseph and Adam, tell them. Next morning, tell Tucker and Eric. And I was like, and Eric was like, I'm not surprised. That's basically what I heard. Like, he was like, I'm not. And so it just really confirmed it. And so for us, we were like, dude, if they're not loyal to us anymore, right? Because we're so loyal to them, or even if they're talking to other teams about U-turning us,
the big brother of it all, right? Like if I don't want to get someone out, but I try to convince somebody else to get them out, I'm still not loyal to that person,
yes,
right? And so we're like, the fact that you're even entertaining a conversation about U-turning and our names are included in that is enough for us to be like, all right, we're severing ties right there, and game on. And so that's what informed us. And that's actually in the episode where when I turn it around, I say we overheard a conversation. That's the conversation that we're talking
that's
about.
Not the gentleman's agreement conversation.
It's not the gentleman's agreement, right? The gentleman's agreement has almost nothing to do with the whole season. Like was that the first time we heard it? Is like we didn't even know that was that big of a thing. or of a discourse.
Which
going
obviously,
on.
like, even Eric was like, there is no gentleman's agreement because
Like-
we didn't have a gentleman's agreement.
Like we
right?
U-turn Tucker and Eric, they U-turn us, right? But yeah, either way, that's the conversation we're talking about, and that sort of once we show everyone who we're U-turning, that sort of erupts, or maybe not erupt, but like anyway, yeah, there's a big argument is what happens between us and Kylan and Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is Taylor verbalizing something that she expressed when she saw the U-turn the first time, which is like her frustration and feeling like this is a season dominated by men, you know, feeling like the optics of having the two male teams U-turn the two female teams. What is your perspective on that?
I mean, look, it's for us, it was nothing having to do with that. All right. To us, it's crystal clear that we're going to U-turn Izzy and Paige, right? It could be Izzy and somebody else, or Paige and somebody else, or any other team that is finishing as strongly as them and doesn't want to work with us, and we would U-turn them. And so to us, that was clear. I felt weird about that whole edit and what Taylor said too, because her and Kylan knew who we U-turned and who we were trying to protect. Like we were running by with Joseph and Adam, and we said, hey, we used up the board so that you don't have to use your express pass. And it's also for Hannah and Simone, and they knew that. And so I felt weird about the whole, like, turning into just a one-sided or just a one-dimensional thing of like guy versus girl. Whereas, you know, I mean, Taylor's also benefiting from having a male partner and working with male teams, and Joseph and Adam being a male team. And we're also trying to protect Hannah and Simone. We're also working with Natalie and Stephanie. And so I felt
but
weird.
that's not to like say or dismiss that like the Amazing Race does favor male teams. We've seen that with how many male teams have won, right? Just the structure of it and how it works, and that's something that production needs to work on.
Or some of the challenges,
especially this season really proved that, right? Where like the only teams that won are us, Tucker and Eric, and then Nat and Steph, right? And those are the only firsts that happened. And so like that there was like a bigger conversation that afterwards post-season that we talked to Taylor and Kylan about, which was they were having a conversation about that, right? But we were never invited in that conversation. We didn't know that was the context of them.
That's what they told us.
Yeah,
they're like,
and all of that, you know.
Apparently when we overheard them mentioning us with the U-turn, they said, hey, you know, it was actually
they were having a larger conversation about you know, how the Amazing Race is biased towards male teams, right? But like we didn't know that, right? And we had the snippet of information that we had that we overheard, and we made decisions based off of that.
So obviously an argument ensues, another one ensues, you know, when Taylor and Kylan use the other half of theirs on Izzy and Paige, but the vote ties. It's, you know, it's like 2 to 1, and then you go to this tiebreaker. Did you think it was going to deadlock? What did you think the results were going to be once you found out it would be a tie vote?
We didn't.
We knew
at best. We knew we were gonna get U-turned.
We knew
it was at best gonna be a tie, and at worst, it's just us going in. And so, you know, that's the best that we could have hoped for. In no world was it gonna be just Taylor and Kylan getting U-turned. And so
like we were sitting there, we already knew we were gonna vote for Taylor and Kylan, so we were just like getting in the mindset of like, okay, we're about to get U-turned, right? Like let's get ready to like do both sides of the detour. Let's just go through this and get it done.
And you did in historic fashion. I mean, even before you check in, like it was just ridiculous that you guys blaze through like the Oregon task, and you arrive at the Olives before two of the teams that U-turned you and didn't have to do another side of it. Like, was there any secret to that? Was it just finding the right place at the right time? Was a certain mindset you had, as you mentioned, sort of like preparing yourselves for the inevitable of being U-turned?
Maybe it might be a little bit of all of it. Like the mindset definitely helps. That leg was also when our sister was giving birth to our niece.
Yes.
And so we found out about that. And so we channeled that as our source of motivation, and why we ran that leg so hard. And we run every leg really hard, but especially that one.
Like
And
throughout that entire leg, we were like, this is for our niece. And they like show a snippet of it, but that was like the entire time we're like, we're doing this for our niece.
yeah. And so I think that, and like, I mean, it's a race. Like, we just ran it like it was a race. I was surprised to see the episode and not all the teams were running, which is not to say, like, look, Amazing Race, on the Amazing Race, there are teams that choose not to run, and that's their strategy.
They had
'cause
knee
slow and
problems
steady
out the
wins
wazoo,
race.
from what I've been hearing.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
how
I
much
mean,
of
that
a
was just-
choice it was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
because they had problems. But yeah, I mean, for us, we had actually, even when we're running, because you had to go to a certain point to pick up those what were they called? Those players,
Yeah.
Oregon player, whatever
Yeah.
things. But when we were going there, we actually ran through the square that you were supposed to bring it back to. And we just saw like someone, we're like, wait, what is going on? We're like, oh, we have to come back here. And so Jag led us to where we had to pick it up. And I told Jag, like, I was like, look, I'm just going to memorize this backwards, right? Like, I'm just going to remember how to get back here. You get us there, right? And so we like divvied that up and we ran back basically flawlessly. And that's
Wow.
why we were the first ones there. And we had picked up a map. And we had gotten a map, and so like Jag knew we had already mapped out how to get to the olives, and so we just ran there as well. And when we show up to the Sisyphus task, I've been practicing that Sisyphus. Joseph and Adam are there. And they were like, they looked at us and they're like, guys, you guys have to do the second part of the U-turn. Like,
We're like,
second
the
detour.
second detour. And
We're
we're
like, guys,
we-
go back. And we're like, we did it. And we just started cheering. So that was like a very hype moment. And Joseph and Adam go, we don't know where we're going. Can you guys lead us?
Oh my god.
yeah.
And so we run to the
Yeah.
boulders and they follow us to the boulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine how cathartic it was to check in to the mat, not only having survived the detour, but being the first team in Amazing Race history to ever finish in first place after being U-turned. Like, obviously, there's a lot of unknown left on the Amazing Race, but I know after that, I was like, there's no way these guys can be stopped. Did you feel the same at all, considering what you were able to accomplish?
Oh, I mean, it felt like we were on top of the world.
Yeah.
We checked in first, like we were hooting and hollering, like we were going crazy.
Yeah, even when Philip told us the prize, we were like, that's for our niece.
Yeah.
We're taking our niece there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a cool moment. I think just a roller coaster of what that day was for us. The low of, I mean, the high of finding out like our niece is being born, the low of getting U-turned, then the high again of taking first and out. Like it was incredible. So we were pretty
But
jazzed.
at that point, like, to answer also your question, we weren't there when all the teams saw Taylor and Kylan run in, right?
Oh,
We were the
yeah.
last ones to find out.
Tucker and Eric were out,
and
yeah.
For us, obviously, we celebrated, right? We were like, oh, what? When we found out, we were like, oh my God, Tucker and Eric just got eliminated. This opens the race up. And then we were also like, wait. If Tucker and Eric can get eliminated, so
Anyone
can we.
can.
You know, so can
Mm.
anyone. And we can't get ahead of ourselves and we can't get like cocky or overconfident or whatever it is. Like, we need to continue to run our own race and run it like Tucker and Eric are here, all the other, and that's not to say all these other teams, super strong teams, right? Like Izzy and Paige, Taylor and Kylan, Joseph and Adam, all these other teams were very strong teams too. And so we didn't count any of the other teams out.
So we move into Italy, and this is where perhaps Adam's, health is at its most prominent. This is when he has this
Yep.
massive scare where he's struggling from heat stroke and then has electrolytes, and that, pumps up his blood sugar. Now, something that they did mention to us a couple times is that you guys actually helped them a lot when it came to, helping Adam monitor his sugar. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Did that play out here as well?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously learning about Adam having diabetes, and we were also like working very closely with them in our alliance. We felt for them a lot, and that was something like for example, in Romania, when we had to paddle out to get our clue,
Mm.
Adam's sugar dropped then
Oh.
as they were like rowing back. I think on the way.
No, on the way there.
Oh,
it
okay.
dropped. Yeah, so
Um,
Joseph was just doing it.
was
alone.
rowing
Yeah.
himself, and so we saw that, and Joseph was trying to take out the paddle boat himself, and so we just turned around and went back and helped him out with that, because to us it's like there are some things that are bigger than the race or
Right.
you know, any sort of TV show that you might be on. It's just like humanity, right? Like we don't want to win on account of like, oh well, Adam's sugar dropped, so you know, so yeah, there were moments like that, and I
And
think
there were multiple other moments where like you kind of see like they do follow us quite often, but that is also because like at certain times Adam's sugar drops, so like Joseph has to also step aside and help him, and we see that happen. So we're like, okay, we're gonna get directions. We're close.
Yeah.
There are also our allies, but like this is something out of his control,
Yeah.
right? This is something that like maybe production hasn't really thought about all the way and been like, how can we support, right? Which
yeah.
you know, they did do a good job, and that's Joseph and Adam can speak about that too, you know, at certain times. But like so we were just like, look, we're gonna help them as much as we can, because we also know how it is to like, in a different sense, to have things
These
work
unique
against you.
challenges.
Yeah,
Right.
like unique challenges and stuff. And so that was just like kind of something outside of the game or the race that really just like brought us into it, and we're like, okay, some things are much bigger.
Yeah. So not to yada yada too much between Italy and France, but you know, it's very much the same thing. You guys dominate a leg in commanding fashion, finishing first, but you got to talk about the leg that counts the most for finishing in first.
Wait, before we even
Please.
go, we actually got in a car crash.
Who's we?
What?
He hit a
What?
car. I don't know
What?
who we is. They didn't show this in
Italy. Okay, mind you, I am you can kind of tell if you watch the episode back, you hear me sniffling a lot because I'm super sick during that leg.
Which is not an excuse to get in a wreck with
That's-
someone, okay?
That's true. But like
Driving
mind
under
you,
the illness.
He hits a local's car, right? And so we have this whole exchange with this local Italian guy and his daughter that are in the car, and we're like trying to figure this out, like how can we move past this? And we're asking our camera and audio people, like, is there like insurance or like is there
and they
Yeah.
just looked at us and they
Like-
said, "Run your own race.
They're like-
You're on race time. Go
Yeah.
figure it out." And we're like,
that's on you. And so it was pretty funny. Like we were talking to this Italian guy, and he speaks only Italian, and
we don't speak Italian.
aren't fluent in Italian, and his daughter speaks barely any English, but she's the only thing that she says to us is like, watch where you're going. And we're like, yes, we absolutely agree.
We will do that.
We need to watch where we're going. And then out of literally the bushes nearby, three
No
of his Italian friends pull up, and they
We're
speak
like-
some English. And
We're like looking around and we're like, where did these guys come from?
like this. So with the friends, we're talking to them, explaining like, hey, like yeah, like we hit them and we're on this show, like is there anything that we can do? And so we ended up just like giving them all the leg money that we had, which
Which was
like
not enough. It was like 90 euros or something.
Oh.
and we hand it to this guy. Mind you, we didn't like, it wasn't totaled, it was just a little, you know, whatever in the front. We hand it to this guy, and we like show him like, this is all we have. We hand it to him, and he looks at us and just starts laughing and shakes our
Shakes
hand.
our hand and he's like, oh.
He's like, all right. And then we're like, hey,
And then-
while we have you, we're like, can you help us get to the pit stop? We need directions there. And so his friends literally helped us and gave us directions on how to get to the pit stop.
And so you see us like we're running up and laughing.
That's why we're laughing when we're running to Phil, getting to the pit stop. And Phil is like, yeah, for the first time in Amazing Race history, we had a team crash into a local to get directions.
And get first, you know? And so we're like,
Yeah.
hey, Phil, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean we were making history for good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Making history doesn't mean good, you know?
I mean,
So
Phil's
we're
Mr.
just
No
messing
Opportunity
around with
Wasted.
Phil.
He wants you to take any opportunity you can. So, you know, turn some straw into gold. I'd be like, hey, sorry I nicked you. Like, by the way, Listen, I might get like $5,000 if I check it in first place. I'll pay the rest of your car expenses if you let me get to the pit stop first.
Yeah, we literally told it like that's what we said to Phil. We're like, I don't care how much we win right now. Put it towards whatever car payments. Handle that. And yeah.
I'm interested though, Jess. You said you were sick because I feel like we don't hear about the injuries, but we don't ever hear a lot about illnesses as well. Was this something you like had for a lot of the tail portion of the race?
So I had it a lot during Italy, but like
He was super sick.
it carried over into France, and even like you see in the final leg, I'm not able to like push as many rolls in my cart that I have to give it to.
That's because I'm strong as hell.
And we just assumed you were the comp beast.
Exactly.
So that was still like you know how like even after you're sick, you're not fully recovered, you're like 80% or whatever it is, right? So like I kind of still felt that, but like in Italy was when I was like, and that's the only time I stopped to go to the bathroom because I was chugging water. I just peed on a building.
Peed on a building. That poor building.
Like,
some random Italian building.
Oh my God. You're just going to be like, you're going to be in the negative with all the money you won on the rates. Like, well, I got to pay for this the police charges from public urination. I got to pay for the Italian's car who I hit.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you've got money to spare here because you land in New York. It's a good day. It's a really good day. But I'm curious, like, you know, as the day is going on and you start the day in first and you continue throughout it, like, does the confidence steadily grow, or are you waiting for that other shoe to drop, for that moment where you're like, it could all catch up to us and we could lose out on the final leg at any time?
wait, is this Paris or New York?
New York.
Okay.
Dumbass.
Oh, okay.
All
Unless
right,
there's something in Paris that you.
Unless
you
there's
feel
any
like
other
we need
petty
to
crime
know.
you
Yeah.
committed in Paris.
But I feel like
No.
at this point you've got momentum and you're just like,
Yeah. No crimes that we want to share at the moment.
yeah, you didn't pee on anything that we need to
Very
hear
wise,
about.
very wise.
Yeah.
But you
No,
did
I
finish
mean,
as
I
number
think
one.
Yeah. In New York, I think like we were confident in ourselves, but again, it was the same thing. Like every single task, like anything can happen. So that's why we ran it so hard too. And we were waiting for the inevitable memory challenge, you know, the final memory challenge that happens at the end of a season on the race. And luckily we had taken a lot of notes and we felt really prepared going into it. And I think, yeah, I mean, we didn't know until like we completed that challenge and it said like, you know, go to Yankee Stadium, or like go, whatever. That was the moment we were like, oh my God.
And there were no teams there with us, right? When we're completing that challenge, the edit shows that there were, which like honestly makes the episode so much more fun to watch and exciting. So I don't blame them. I think it's
But no one was there.
episode,
We
but
were
like
there, yeah.
no one was there. We completed that memory challenge. And we like get into the taxi, and our taxi driver, we had told him, and he had been doing this. He had been watching every time to see if any teams were going in and out.
Or
and he saw
no clues, and he was like, yeah, no one else is here. And so we knew we had a significant lead, and all we had to do was go to the pit stop at that point.
Do you know, in terms of time, like how far ahead you finished of Kylan and Taylor and how far they finished ahead of Joseph and Adam?
We don't know the exact number, but like it was around an hour. I think the shortest number I've heard is like 45 minutes. I've heard, you know, an hour 15-ish. So somewhere around there. But I heard there was a little bit of technical difficulties with both Kylan and Taylor and Joseph and Adam at the final.
Yes, with the boards. Yeah.
Yeah. But we left that before anyone showed up. And so however long it would have taken them.
So it had to be at least, because
it was at least half an hour or
like
45.
at least 30 minutes, because it took us at least 30 minutes to complete that puzzle, and we flew through it, right?
Mhm.
They show us like kind of struggling with it, but like that was like
Couple
very
words,
small,
yeah.
like small instances of we would just skip a word and go back to it.
Mhm.
But like we flew through that, and it took us probably like 30 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
So we're at least 30 minutes ahead of Taylor and Kylan.
So
we
you
don't
guys
know
didn't
how
have
long it took them.
you guys didn't have any technical difficulties with the board though. You were fine with the swiping.
It was finicky.
Yes,
for
but,
us.
but we realized if you press too hard, it would glitch. There was like a perfect sweet spot that both of us kind of like figured out. There
You
was
gotta adapt. This is what I'm telling you. Like, yeah, ours was being finicky, but like
it was, yeah.
we kind of figured that out. You couldn't touch the board on more than one spot at a time, and so Yeah, we were trying to
and you
just
couldn't
slower.
touch too hard or like too light, and it had to be like the perfect, and we both kind of found that perfect spot and just kept going. So
Yeah.
it was a little glitchy, but we made it
But
work.
nothing too major.
Yeah.
Well, you
Are
guys,
you guys crossword puzzle people in real life?
No.
No, no. But were we doing Wordles and like minis and all of that stuff leading up to the race?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was I horrible at the minis?
Most
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
well, listen, you guys hit Yankee Stadium in first place, and you utter 2 words that we heard many times throughout the course of your time
Let's
across the board.
go.
So I gotta hear about this. I don't know if you saw, there was a Reddit post that actually chronicled
Yeah.
every time someone
I
said,
did, yeah.
let's go on this season. Like, was this purposeful on your part? Was this your credo going in, or just sort of like come out unconsciously?
I mean, this is just what we said. Like, I said it a lot on my season of Big Brother too.
Yeah.
And so
I
that's
think
just
Casey
kind of-
had you beat in terms of like actually coining the phrase, but you certainly capitalized on it.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I said it a lot. I just don't know what else we would say if we're hype. You know, we're not going to say huzzah or hip hip hooray. You know, like that was splendid. You know, like what I didn't know what else to say. So I think that's probably just the case for all the other teams.
I didn't realize how much we said it until we started watching.
I didn't realize how much everyone else said it.
Yes,
is the
because
thing.
everyone
I knew
else
we
was also
said it.
saying
It's like a virus. I feel like it just kind of spread.
That's what you got
Yeah.
sick with, Jess.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Let's go.
I think they needed to start bleeping it out during the
Yeah,
edit. Like
yeah.
I was like, you guys just like I was like, oh my god, this is so much.
Yeah, but then what are we gonna think you said?
Yeah,
That's true. Oh my god, these guys have such
Yeah.
potty mouths. They're just blurring, saying nothing but explicit words every time they get to.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were incredibly explicit again with how good you were at this race. I mean, how does that feel for you? Again, I'm sure you did not come in intending to break records, but like I have said it, I think many people have. I do think you are among some of the most dominant teams to ever do this across nearly
Wow.
25 years.
Thank you.
How does that feel for you guys?
I mean, it's surreal.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like we didn't know that would be our story on the race or our journey. And we went in with the mindset that we shared with y'all, which is, hey, don't get lost. And the only leg that matters is the final leg. And I think it was just testament to our mindset and how well we work together and just pivoting and adapting at every obstacle that might be thrown at us. And so I was super excited, obviously, to hear about that. And like just how well we did at the very end as well. And just proud of how we handled ourselves on the race too. It could have gone a lot of different ways based on how our mindset would have been throughout different moments on the race. And I'm just happy with how we did.
Well, I think what's also really interesting is obviously Jag, not your first reality show, nor your first victory on it, but it probably felt incredibly special to have the two of you do this. And you talked about wanting to do this to use the money to help retire your parents. What has been their reaction to watching the two of you on the race together?
I mean, it's been incredible. Like we watched nearly every single episode with them. They were there for the finale party that we had in New York.
Yeah.
They were there for the premiere party. And just to see
They're
that,
so proud
Yes.
and just so happy. And they've probably rewatched all the episodes more than anyone else that I know.
I could walk downstairs right now, and they're probably watching the episode.
Yeah. I mean, they're just so proud.
They're really like who keep us grounded too,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like, and that's when I really like, even after finale, right? Like people were like, "Oh, how do you feel? How do you feel?" And I was like, I haven't really like processed all of it, but like.
You're like,
when
I gotta get my
start
wisdom
talking-
teeth taken out. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
after that.
you know, all of that. But when I like start talking to my parents about it, that's really when it's like when it hits
even
me.
more, yeah.
Because it's like just seeing how proud they are of us, being like, we would have never guessed like we would be the first Punjabi Sikh team on the Amazing Race,
Yeah.
right? Like we're making, whether we would have won or not, we're making history in it of itself.
Yeah.
Just being the first Punjabi Sikh team. He made history by being the first Punjabi Sikh on Big Brother.
Yeah.
Right. And that is like huge. And so we like, this was something even bigger than us and us winning. And to see that like pride in them and all of that. And, you know, it's been so real. It's been so great.
So I think the question that we have to ask then is, Dad, are you going to go for the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
When are you going on Survivor?
I would love to. I would love to. I'm never one to back down from a challenge, and that's sort of, Big Brother was incredibly difficult, and so challenging to come out on top and have the journey that I did. And Amazing Race was very high pressure and difficult for us as well. And, we were able to succeed there. I would love to go on Survivor. I think it's such an intricate game. And what I love about it is that it really brings you to the most raw form of yourself. No food, no shelter provided, no, you know what I mean? While you're playing this complex social strategic game. And so I would love to do it. And another big part of our journey is that representation piece. I was the first person on Big Brother to represent my community. We were the first to represent our community on the race. And if I were to go on Survivor, at least in 50 seasons of Survivor, there's never been a sick player that's been on there. And so, I would love to continue my journey with trailblazing in terms of representation too.
What about the challenge? I think after Big Brother 25, I think a lot of people thought, given your comp status and your prowess, that would be sort of like the natural next step. We saw that with Casey as an example. Have you ever thought about possibly doing that?
I mean, I would be open to that too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down. I think we both kind of have this mindset, which is like, we love any competitive environment and anything like that. Like, I would love to do the challenge. I think it would be very difficult for me, but every show is, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I would love to do it. I think it would be super fun.
I think you'd be really good at the dailies. I think you would crush the dailies because they're like very puzzle oriented and team or whatever it might be,
cardio.
And all that. I think he'd be counted out a lot, too, because his size isn't as big and all that stuff. But like, I think we've seen it in 2 shows now where he's set records for multiple things. So I think at this point, I don't know if anyone is going to count him out.
Well, what about you, Jess? I mean, this was your first reality TV experience. You've, even obviously firmly put yourself within the reality TV community before that, with all the time people you've hung out with. Like, have you gotten bitten by the bug? Would you want to do any of these shows by yourself moving forward?
Hell yeah. I loved it. I mean, one of my favorite parts even of the Amazing Race was like the strategic aspect of it. Right. Like when we were like strategizing about certain things. Right. Like, and I didn't realize how much I was going to love that part of it too, along with like running the race with my brother and all that other stuff.
Get him in the Big Brother house. That's what I'm saying. Throw him in there. Throw him to the wolves.
You wouldn't be the first sibling to.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would probably be the first sibling to be evicted week 1. Because like I'm going to walk in and people are going to be like, dude, that's Jag. We need to get him out.
We should have saved our express pass for that.
Exactly. Should have saved it for the other show. I mean, the last thing I want to ask is now talking about your future together as a team. So you have expressed, obviously, that you would want to come back. But let's say if you were to do so, what's like the biggest thing that you would change between a first race and a second race?
Oh, or you're saying like an all-star?
Yes, like if you came back again, now knowing what you know, what would be different in terms of your prep or approach?
Well, I would love to not get U-turned the second time around. Hey, it was cool. Hey, we took first after that U-turn.
We don't need to do that.
I don't want to do it again. I don't want to prove ourselves again. I don't know. Like, look, I think preparation-wise, like we would prepare just as hard. And I would probably want to go in with the same mindset. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like it worked really well for us this time around. And I think more than anything, it would be to continue to remind ourselves like, okay, anything can happen. Stay in that mindset and don't count anyone out and make sure that we're focused on everything just as hard as we were on the first go around, like just as hard as we prepared the first time around, because I think if someone does something for the second time, it might be like, oh, I've done this.
Yeah, like you just kind of brush it off, right? Like I don't have to prep as hard. But for us, I think he nailed it where it's like, look, we're gonna take this as like this is our first time.
Yeah.
Right. And just prepare as much as we can.
Yeah. And as is the nature of any like second, like if there's an all-star season, it's gonna be even more competitive.
Yeah.
So it's even more grounds for us to stay on top of our shit too.
Well, listen, you guys stayed on top of your shit and then some over the course of your first time out. Again, I'm not mincing words when I say, like, I cannot commend you guys enough. Not obviously only for your racing skills, but being able to push through some incredibly ugly, traumatic things to be able to come out on top for your community, for your family, for yourselves. Just a massive congratulations to the two of you.
Thank you so
for
much.
become such a massive victory. Anything you'd like to plug for the listeners out there? Any other final thoughts you want to have about the season proper?
I don't know about plugging anything, but no, I mean, just thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Going on the race
Anytime.
together was such a blessing. You know, it's something that we only could have ever imagined, and it was just a dream come true for us. So yeah, I'm just so happy that we were able to go on and share this experience together. And again, thanks for talking through our experience with us too.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for coming on. Jess, I want to thank you as well for all of your fantastic coverage pre, during, and post season. You knocked it out of the park as per usual. Let's do it next fall, perhaps, shall we?
Yeah, well, I can only hope. And Mike, I got to thank you because I was not a Big Brother person, and you held my hand through this entire season. And I've had so much fun getting to know these players, and this has been such a great season. And the two of you, Jazz and Jag, you were amazing to watch.
Seriously.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you all so much. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, folks, about this chat with Jess and Jag. You know, we're sort of winding down the postseason trail, but if there's anyone else you want us to hear from, certainly let us know. Otherwise, let's go into the off season.
Let's go!
As we begin the long march until the amazing race of 39. I hope everyone has some very happy holidays and a fantastic end to your year. I know it's been a big year for the two of you, Jess and Jag. Cannot wait to see in 2026 for you and beyond. Thank you all so much, as per usual. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.